Hello and welcome to SGN Tech Forum. Today, in this video, we are going to talk how to build a VPN server at home without any cost, right? So previously I have done a video IPsec VPN uh, that involve router or firewalls, but those are mostly site-to-site connection enterprise solutions. But what if you have a requirement that you want to connect back to your home network while you are on the go, or you have a lab which you want to connect securely and access it on the go, and you don't want to go for a paid expensive solution? What you can do in that case? Can you do it yourself? The answer is yes, and that's what we are going to uh, show you. I'm going to show you in this video. But before we jump on and start building our server, we want to make sure that we understand what is this technology, where it is coming from, and a little bit background of the technology, right? Before we start building things. So let's see what we have in agenda today. First, we will understand what is WireGuard VPN, and then we will see how WireGuard VPN is different or compared to VPN, which is again a open standard in industry standard for VPN. Then we will see how to set up a WireGuard VPN, how to use WireGuard VPN in literature. And finally, we'll get into a demo or a working lab where I'm going to show you how to do PiVPN install on a Raspberry Pi. That's like a small Raspberry Pi, inexpensive Raspberry Pi. And we will validate the VPN connection from your cell phone where you have a service provider base IP address, or a MacBook which you are trying to access from a remote location. So you are away from your home where you have the VPN server, and you connect to that PiVPN server and start working in your home environment. So those are the things we are going to do next. But let's first understand what is WireGuard VPN. WireGuard VPN is a modern, secure, and fast virtual private network protocol. It is designed to be extremely simple to configure and deploy. So that is the strength. This is extremely simple uh, in terms of number of line of configuration and very easy to deploy, while it is maintaining the key characteristic, that means level of security and performance. So it is still using the highest cryptography standards, but it is very easy to implement. WireGuard is a modern VPN protocol that was created to address the shortcoming of existing VPN protocol. The industry standard protocol, they can be real, uh, they have their own use case, but they can be really complex, right? But for simple use cases, I think this is what we needed, and now we have a lightweight, fast, and secure protocol. All right. Now let's understand what is the difference between OpenVPN and WireGuard VPN. We already have an open source VPN protocol, then why WireGuard VPN? So OpenVPN and WireGuard VPN are two most popular VPN protocol, each offering different advantages for the user, right? And here in this picture, as you can see, this is how it fares. This is a snippet from internet on website. As you can see, speed winner is WireGuard. WireGuard is twice as fast as OpenVPN. Security and encryption, pretty much they both have the same kind of security to offer, so it's a tie. Bypassing censorship, OpenVPN better, so it uses port TCP 443. That means all the traffic can be encapsulated into HTTP. However, for WireGuard, you will see that there is a default standard default port. Mobility, WireGuard is very easy. It is available on App Store. It is available as a mobile client everywhere. It's very easy to configure. However, OpenVPN client are a little bit tricky to configure. Data users, again, WireGuard is a winner in privacy and login, since OpenVPN is a little bit uh, bloated or full-fledged implementation. Obviously, it has better logging and privacy standards, which is expected. So there are some trade-off which you have to accept. Right. Let's go to the next thing. Setting up WireGuard VPN. You will see this thing step by step in demo, but to summarize, setting up WireGuard connection is relatively simple. The first step is to install WireGuard software on both server and client. right? Because it's a VPN solution. So you need VPN server running, in our case on a Raspberry Pi, and then the client can be your iOS phone or Android phone or a MacBook or laptop, anything. But you do need a software, client software for that. Once the software is installed, next step is to generate private key on each computer, and you will see the creating a VPN configuration which combine the key and etc. is very easy. You can generate a QR code which you can scan, and that's you're ready to go. The next step is to configure server and client computer, setting the IP address, port number, other setting required for connection. Super easy. Using WireGuard VPN is even better. So all you need to do is activate your tunnel. That's it. If you have the right keys and VPN server is configured properly, it's just a toggle of a button and you are connected to your VPN network. WireGuard is also very versatile and can be used for a variety of tasks. Securely access remote access, access website blocked by firewall, and bypassing geographical restriction. So one of the key cool use case of VPN, any VPN solution is you want to bypass any geo IP restriction. That means you have some website which is only available for North America and you are in other continent, you can probably connect back to a VPN and spoof with the source as North American address. Now, you must be wondering that, okay, we are going to install this software or this VPN on a Raspberry Pi. So what is it what we are going to install? I hear PiVPN, and then we are talking all the time WireGuard. Is PiVPN and WireGuard is the same? Is PiVPN is another open source standard? So no, it's not like that. WireGuard is a standard, but PiVPN is the implementation, one of the implementation. As you can see here, PiVPN and WireGuard are not the same thing, but they are related. And how they are related? PiVPN is a software tool that help user to set a VPN server on Raspberry Pi. So this is a very specific to Raspberry Pi implementation. However, WireGuard VPN can be implemented in any kind of um, endpoints. Many of the SaaS solutions, plug and play solutions, if you start digging deep, you will see there are WireGuard implementation. And I'll give you a hint how to identify WireGuard implementation. When you start looking into tunnel, you will see a tunnel called WG0. That is WireGuard tunnel. And so a lot of product, they use WireGuard implementation to connect securely to the endpoint. WireGuard, on the other hand, is a modern, highly efficient VPN protocol that offer better performance and security than older protocol like OpenVPN. So basically, WireGuard, if you look at the source code, it's very concise, and versus OpenVPN and any other industry proprietary protocol, it's a very concise. That's the beauty. That's how it is called lightweight and faster to implement. In other words, PiVPN is a tool that can be used to set up a WireGuard VPN server on Raspberry Pi. And this is exactly what we are going to do. So I hope this clears the doubt between PiVPN and WireGuard and what we are going to do. So let's go ahead and install, start the installation on the Raspberry Pi actually. So let me connect to the Raspberry Pi and I'll walk you through the implementation, and then we will do one set of check from iPhone or iOS phone. And yes, iOS, you can use iOS to connect to a network by using SSH. I was very surprised, but yeah, that's a possibility. And then we will do another set of check, um, which is from MacBook. All right, so let's go to our PiVPN. All right, now we are ready with our installation. So this is Raspberry Pi. Let's see what is the connection looks like. We're checking out time. If config, as you can see, I have WLAN 0, the wireless connection, 192.168.1.135. That is going to be our Raspberry Pi local address. It's a good idea to do an update and upgrade so that you have all the latest packages available. So as you can see, I'm logged in as Pi, the local user. So we are doing some pre-checks before we go ahead and install the PiVPN software. What do we need? We need curl for sure. So curl is a HTTP client or terminal application which can help you to send a HTTP like request. So in this case, please go ahead and install curl. And as you can see, there are various options. Curl is very powerful. There is various options for curls, various flags for curls. And what we are going to use, we are going to use one of the flag called -L. So what I'm showing you is I'm sending a HTTP request to Amazon.com, and this is an insecure request. That's a HTTP request. And what Amazon is doing is telling me that this website is permanently moved and we are getting a response code of 301, which is moved permanently, because Amazon want to tell you that I'm not available at HTTP, but you use HTTPS. And that's what, so uh, that's why we are going to use a flag called -L, which help you redirect. So if the code is moved somewhere, if you use curl -L, that means it will pick up from the redirection also. So it's a good idea to every time you do a curl, use -L. Not needed all the time, but it's kind of like a good practice. And this is the URL. The URL is in description also. What do you have to do? curl-l https install that .pivpn.io and bash, pipe bash. So what we are saying that, okay, fetch this script and execute that script as well, because we are sending the script to bash. And as you can see, the installation, first it is going to fetch the script from pivpn.io, and then it is going to execute that script. And we'll go to pivpn.io to see what is the script, but let's continue with the install for now. This installation will transform your Pi into OpenVPN and WireGuard server. That's what we want. So it's a thumbs up. Okay. And this is a complete automated installer here. You just have to follow the workflow. I'm going to give you some insight how to keep your VPN consistent and uh, run this installer for very long time. That means instead of IP address, it's better to use DNS name. And I'll give you some tips around that. All right. For IPv6, we don't want IPv6 because most of the home network don't have IPv6. So do you want to force IPv6 routing to the block of leakage? At this moment, we are not worry about IPv6. So you can say no. And this is the part. Are you using DHCP reservation on your router? These are the current networks. So PiVPN actually read my IP address and gateway, etc. And it is asking me, do you want to continue with a DHCP reservation? The challenge is next time Pi get restarted, you may lose this IP address if you're not doing a static assignment. In my case, I'm using a static assignment, so I'm fine. All right. Now it is asking you, choose a local user that will hold your OVPN configuration. So you can see this has a reference of OVPN. It's not entirely new. So I have only one user. I'm going to say yes. The home user or Pi user is okay. And I just enter configuration, proceed, and then you come back to the screen again and you have to choose. Now the same script has two options, WireGuard VPN and OpenVPN. As you know, we are interested in WireGuard VPN because of the simplicity of the code. But using the same script, you can actually install OpenVPN also. But but be mindful, if you decided to detour, that means install OpenVPN, then you have to download the different client. So this implementation is very specific to WireGuard. So please go ahead and choose WireGuard. As you select that, the proceeding will happen. And now, as you can see, you can modify the default WireGuard port. The default WireGuard port is 51820, 51820. Please make a note of this. Why this is important? We'll talk about that because you have to allow this port within your network. If you decided to keep this port, then you have to allow this, because most of the routers and firewall, they deny a UDP connection uh, uh, incoming. So you have to specifically go and make these changes in the router. Now the next thing is, what is the DNS provider you want to choose? So there are all list of DNS. I really like uh, Google, Quad VPN, Cloudflare. So choose whatever you want. Or you can make PiVPN as a local DNS also, in case your PiVPN is running that. Will client with the public address or DNS name? So this is a very important step. In my opinion, you should create a DNS entry for your public IP address, because you at home, this IP addresses are changing, right? I'm giving you my public IP address for my home network, but this IP address is going to change probably next month or next DSCP refresh cycle. So it is better to have a DNS entry created against your public IP. You can go to a lot of places where you can get a free DNS mapping for your public IP, like no IP, etc. But for this installation, probably the public IP is the simplest thing to choose. And let's go ahead. Unattended upgrade. Uh, so it is asking you if you want to accept the upgrade security packages. Looks very lucrative. At the same time, you don't know what is happening behind the scene. But for demo purposes, it's fine. Let me enable unattended upgraded for security patches, because we want to make sure that we are receiving the latest and greatest patch all the time and be on top of security. So as you accept the options, the script is proceeding. So we are installing in the backend with user input as a pop-up. Now run PiVPN add. Installation is complete. It's like a less than 10 minutes and your installation is complete. Run PiVPN add to create the client profile, and PiVPN help to know more about PiVPN. So our server is installed, and now let's go ahead and reboot so that the installation can take effect, because it has make a lot of system level changes, kernel changes. So it's always recommended to reboot. Once we reboot and system is actually rebooting, let's try to ping it to make sure that when it is up, we can go back and log in. And as you can see, the installation script is uh, saved at /opt/PiVPN, because this is a third-party install. So /opt is your a home folder. And let's go back and start pinging our VPN server so that we can uh, make sure that it has came back. Yes. So ping reply, echo reply. We are getting echo reply. It's now time to log back in to Raspberry Pi WireGuard VPN. I think I must have stepped out. So at this point of time, but Raspberry Pis are really quick to reboot. It's not like a server, a heavy server, which is taking 2 or 5 minute time. It's pretty quick, as you have seen here itself. Now let's go back and log in. What we have to do, we don't know, right? If as a user you don't know what command I have to use, what I have to do next, but you will see, you will appreciate the simplicity of it. Once the installation was finished, you have given two command, one command to add a user or add a profile, and then the second command is to know more about PiVPN. So what I'm doing here, sudo PiVPN add, and you are creating a client. So you are basically what you're doing, you are creating a client configuration, and you will take that client configuration and use that on a client machine to connect to this server, because server is already running. So what I did, I said sudo pivpn add. It is asking me for a client name, sdn tech, and voila, sdntech.conf successfully created, and it is saved to my home folder /config, right? Another thing you can see, if you don't want to download that .conf file, what you can do, you can also create a QR code, um, and just scan it, right? So how easy it is, how convenient it is. So let's do create a scan or QR code here. So the same config file, it's the same config file, but you have a QR code. And I kind of like didn't show you properly. It's up there, but the QR code is generated. And at this point of time, in validation, I'm going to scan that QR code and connect to the tunnel. Let's go back and look at sdntech.conf VPN file. What does the content look like? And you can see this is super simple config file. What I have my private key, which I'm showing. You should not show this to anyone, but this is a demo, so I'm not hiding anything because I'm anyways going to um, discard this implementation. So you have your private key, and then you have peer public key and pre-shared key, right? Uh, and allowed IP, or you can see this is allowing all the IP addresses. 10.18.169.1, that is my WireGuard or the VPN network, point-to-point network. So all my VPN tunnels, they will have the IP address from this network. So this is the configuration looks like. If you do a PiVPN-D, you will see it's kind of like a diagnosis. You will get a detailed report on what your PiVPN MTU is, what your PiVPN, all the details about PiVPN, right? Install everything you will get using PiVPN-D. Now, when we started and I did a ifconfig, we never had WZ0 interface. But after install, if I do a ifconfig, you can see I have WZ0 and it has an IP address in 10.18 subnet. That is our WireGuard tunnel, VPN tunnel interface. Can you ping the other side at this point of time? No, because there is no client. This configuration, I have generated a client configuration, but it is the I have not sent it to a client, or none of the client is using this configuration. Hence, we cannot uh, reach out to that. And another cool command is PiVPN-L, which tell you the current connection, any active connection. Uh, so as you can see, we have a client as Tech. It has a public IP address. When we created, the date is there, but there is no connection as such as of now because we have just generated the configuration but not imported in at the client. PiVPN help, PiVPN, other options, other flag you can see. So A is for add, C is for client, D is for debug. These are very handy command. Please take a note. As you can see, PiVPN-C, we have one client configuration generated. We have allocated an IP address to that, but byte received, sent, everything is 0 because we are not negotiating any connection at all. So this is all at server level. And if we do a netstat-unlp, you will see since WireGuard is installed, I have this 51820 port listening. So I have uh, my Raspberry Pi listening on port 51820. All right. So I think this completes our server configuration. Now we are going to move to the endpoint and implement the client configuration. Okay, before we go to endpoint and import the WireGuard configuration, let's take a quick look at what we need at our router or VPN firewall side at home, right? Because this Raspberry Pi is sitting in the home network, most probably facing a NAT device. In your many a case, it may be a router or a home gateway or a firewall, right? So as you can see, PiVPL install guide, pretty simple to follow. Install PiVPN script. That's what we have done a little bit earlier. And now, in my case, this is an ASA router, firewall. So basically what I'm doing, I'm just creating a object network for my PiVPN server with the IP address of 135, 192.168.1.35, 135. And Basically, this is a little bit open-ended. You should not do that. But what I'm saying that any incoming UDP traffic, if it is for my PiVPN server, for object PiVPN, equal to port 51820, because I know this is the default port I'm using, allow that inside. And also I'm using a NAT because this same connection will go outside also. So I'm using a static NAT for that. Uh, this is typical to ASA. Your home network, it will be as easy as just going to the port forwarding and mention port 51820. That's it. So please check your uh, router or firewall configuration guide. But that will be a pretty simple. If you are stuck, ping me, comment, put that in comment, and I'll try to help you at my best. Once we do that, we have to clear the way the UDP connection to come to this PiVPN server. And now we are going to go ahead, download WireGuard app on mm, on mobile, laptop, and start validating things. Right. So let's do that. Okay, we are ready with phone validation. So this is iPhone. We have downloaded the WireGuard from App Store and enter your password. This is the application looks like, the application version, backend. So this is the plain interface. Now add tunnel, right? What you can do, you can create from file or archive. So you can import .conf file, or you can create from QR code. So what you can do, you can scan the QR code, or else what you can do, you can create a manual configuration here. So if you are seeing if you have seen my private key and other configuration, you can definitely try to use that information connect, right? But that's worthless. Basically, that's not the purpose. So let's go ahead and scan the QR code because we want to make this thing easy. So this is I'm scanning the QR code of my laptop screen or WireGuard VPN server. As I scan the code, it is asking me to add VPN configuration, allow. Again, you have to enter passcode. Voila, you have the tunnel available. That means it has imported all the configuration by reading that QR code. With the toggle of the button, your tunnel is created and it is connected. All right. So let's go ahead and see a little bit detail what is the tunnel looks like. So tunnel is active. My endpoint, as you can see, uh, peer endpoint is my public IP address colon the default port, and my IP address is 10.18.169.2. That's coming from that sdntech.conf file, right? That information was there. So both side tunnel information is here. You can go ahead and edit, or you can go ahead and delete the tunnel. All the options are here. And by doing that, you can just toggle to connect to your VPN or untoggle to disconnect from the VPN. How to validate, right? You may see that, okay, tunnel is showing here, but what you can do, you can use the shortcut. And if you go to iPhone shortcut, there is an option to run SSH script. So what I'm trying to do after connecting the tunnel, I'm trying to SSH to the WireGuard VPN. And I will be only able to SSH to WireGuard VPN if I am in the same network, right? Because my WireGuard VPN is having 192.168 IP address. I cannot access that if I am on a public network. And this is my cell phone information right now. As you can see, this is the tunnel log. You can also download the tunnel log or export it as a zip file. It tell you everything like the handshake and other things. So let's go ahead and try to do SSH. As you can see, I'm trying to connect to PiVPN server on port 22 using username pi. Voila. It is presenting me the host fingerprint. That means I was able to connect to that server and it presented the fingerprint, right? And now let's use This is another application basically where I'm trying to scan my LAN network, and you can see 192.168.1.48. Now I'm able to ping that because I'm in my home network. So this is the validation for mobile phone. All right, here we are with the uh, laptop validation. We have finished the phone validation. Now what we are going to do, we are going to create a new client for our desktop, laptop, because one of the client what we generated has been already used. That configuration file has been already used on my phone. So as you can see, PiVPN -C give me the client information, and one of the client SDN tech is with virtual IP address 10.18.169.2 is already established the connection, and that's why you see the byte sent and receive. So what we are going to do for our next validation, let's create another client using command sudo pivpn add under the name of the client. This time I'm going to call it sdn mac. Same thing. Now we have sdnmac.config successfully created and saved at home/pi/config, right? You can generate a QR code for this, but this is not very optimal because you don't want your laptop to scan a code. So let's transfer or capture this newly generated sdnmac.conf file and transfer it to our client endpoint, which can be any desktop or a laptop client, right? So let's go to the folder /home/pi/config and transfer sdnmac.config file. You can use any protocol of your choice, right here on a Raspberry Pi. It is very easy to install SFTP. You can use SCP, any file transfer protocol you can use to transfer that configuration file, the VPN client configuration file. Now you can see there are two because earlier we created one for our cell phone client. All right, at this point of time, we are ready to transfer the configuration. I'm working in the backend to uh, transfer this using some application, um, and I'll show you that in a moment here. There was it. So I used FileZilla to transfer the sdnmac.conf file to the laptop. And before we start creating a tunnel from laptop, you can see, let's check a few things, especially WG interface. And you can see that this is how it looks like. It is basically, it has two peers defined. One is 169.2 already in use. 169.3, there is no transfer information because we never tried to make a connection. But for 169.2, you can see there was a last chance check was 3 days ago. And as we uh, connect from laptop, you will see the new information will populate for peer 169.3. All right, now here I'm on my MacBook and downloaded the WireGuard client from App Store. Once you download, this is the window. You can click on import tunnel from file and go find that .conf configuration file and import it. Obviously, additional Mac security, iOS security, you need to allow. If you don't allow, that will not come into effect. Accidentally, I think I said don't allow. So let's do it again. Also, one thing, while you create the tunnel, it generate a complete log, like what is going on back end, behind the scene, how the handshake is looking like, and when we make connection, what is the keep alive, data transfer, all those things are generated as a log, which you can view, you can export. These logs comes really handy to understand first the procedure, and second, in case you are having some trouble connecting, um, then it comes handy as a troubleshooting tool. All right, so let's go ahead and import the configuration file one more time. And this time I have to make sure that I allow. Okay. Simple, very clean and simple interface, just like our phone. We have our information, peer information, and a button to activate. That's it. Once you hit activate, the tunnel will be established. If you want to make some changes in the configuration, you can click on edit and make some changes, but we don't want to do that. Let's click activate, and here you go. Tunnel is activating. That means the negotiation, it is trying to reach out to PiVPN.server, and negotiation is happening. Once negotiation is successful, the tunnel is established. And here you can see this is the complete log. You can export it. You can read it in detail. You will see a little bit of IPv6 related thing, but we are not doing any IPv6, so please ignore that. But at this point of time, my laptop is sitting in my home network, and I'm free to do anything as if I'm inside my home while I'm on the go. So this is all about different validation. I hope you are liking this video, this kind of TikTok where you can build things on your own by following simple tutorial. If you have any suggestions, any questions, feel free to send them in comment. I try my best to reply to the comment and find you informations about your questions if I don't know them. So thank you very much for your support. And please do like, share, subscribe, spread a word, invite your friends, invite your colleague, so that we can all benefit from the technology. Thank you.